discussed yesterday with Ian Tuttle's piece at nationalreview.com, Trump has cried wolf too often on media bias. It's just one more area in which Trump is sabotaging the Republican Party, sabotaging the conservative movement, and functionally removing media bias as an issue that we can use against the left. John Daly picks up the baton from Ian Tuttle today at nationalreview.com and points out very accurately and spot on that Trump has squandered the opportunity to effectively turn media bias to his benefit. Early Sunday morning, Donald Trump began a Twitter rant against the national media's coverage of his struggling presidential campaign. His problem being that they're covering his struggling presidential campaign. They're no longer giving him all the free media. They're no longer bowing down. They're no longer rigging media coverage in his favor, as happened throughout the GOP primaries. And he apparently doesn't seem to realize why they rigged it that way in the primaries and why they've turned on him now. Here's what Trump tweeted. There are several of them, actually. Here's the first one. If the disgusting and corrupt media covered me honestly and didn't put false meaning into the words I say, I'd be beating Hillary by 20%. Continued throughout the day. Quote, my rallies are not covered properly by the media. They never discuss the real message and never show crowd size or enthusiasm. Crooked Hillary Clinton is being protected by the media. She is not a talented person or politician. The dishonest media refuses to expose. Yeah, gee, really? You think? You're surprised by this? I am not only fighting crooked Hillary, I'm fighting the dishonest... Well, he's not really fighting her, but I digress. I am fighting the dishonest and corrupt media and her government protection process. People get it! In other words, they should be doing that for him instead of her. That's what he really means. It is not freedom of the press when newspapers and others are allowed to say and write whatever they want, even if it is completely false. Actually, they do have that freedom. I mean, just think about it for a minute, Trumplicans. How would you force, or put it this way, would forcing the media to cover news a certain way by government edict, isn't that the antithesis of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution? We all know about, like I said yesterday, we all know about media bias. It's been that way since before I was born 52 years ago. It's been that way for my entire lifetime, over half a century. But they have the freedom to do that. It's called the First Amendment. It sucks that the media has a left-wing bias. It sucks that they've had one for decades. It sucks that they always will have one. But they have that freedom. Remember what Thomas Jefferson said about leaving reason free to combat error. The solution is not shutting down speech. It is expanding it. Stirring up the debate, not closing it down. Well, welcome to the Republican Party, Trump. We on the right have been dealing for decades with the liberal media deck stacked against us. This is nothing new. And whining about it is not going to accomplish a damn thing. It's no secret that the vast majority of people working in the news media profession lean left. Their inclination is to present Democrat politicians and liberal views in a more favorable light than Republican politicians and conservative views. This inclination stems from a lack of discipline and from a lack of diversity of thought in the newsroom, and it trickles down from the major institutions to the local outlets. The bias is clear in the types of stories that are hyped and those that are downplayed. It's apparent in the information that's willfully omitted and the partisan assertions that go unchallenged. Simply put, the media help advance liberal narratives while burying those that come from the right. And this is like saying the sky is blue. This is like saying the sun comes up in the morning. It's part of the environment. It's not any kind of surprise. You know, it's an obstacle that we got to get around, and it's not insuperable. We can get over those obstacles and get around them. Done it many times before. It's just harder for us. It's harder for the right than it is for the left. I mean, the only way to really change that is from the ground up. Conservatives just infiltrating, just like the left has done. I mean, the left over the past century, went on its march through America's various and sundry institutions. That's what we got to do. And it's going to be a lot harder for us because the left will know we're coming. Welcome to the insurgency, folks. This has been well documented over the years, and the public is largely aware of it, even if they aren't impervious to its effects. With the power to change the outcomes of elections, the media has long since recognized as villains, or has long been recognized as villains among right-leaning thinkers. So when a Republican leader blasts those who are a part of it, the rhetoric makes for a pretty useful rallying cry. To a certain point. Donald Trump has long understood this and has made great use of it, but this election year is different. The Republican nominee's problem hasn't been the media. In fact, the media has been his biggest asset. In the primaries, when it worked and suited the Democrats' purposes, Trump won the Republican nomination in large part because his provocative rhetoric and celebrity presence commanded a virtual monopoly of the media's campaign coverage. Where Trump's 16 Republican opponents, had to spend big bucks to try and get their names and messages out to the public, Trump was handed a couple $1 billion of free advertising. Some having referred to it as earned media. It wasn't earned, trust me. And outlets were certainly happy to grant that level of coverage, being that the Trump circus show generated big ratings and readership, for all the wrong reasons. Of course, that advantage didn't keep Trump from clobbering the media from the onset of his candidacy. He lambasted reporters and news outlets whenever their coverage of him was less than flattering, meaning the coverage wasn't necessarily biased, it was probably more along the lines of being honest. Cult of personality, authoritarian caudillo. Whenever they hounded him for making an offensive remark, he dishonestly claimed that he was misquoted or taken out of context and that they were just out to get him. In other words, he's paranoid, thin-skinned, unstable. You got to have a thick skin in politics, especially if you're going to run as a Republican. Again, it sucks. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. Trump even set his sights on conservative media, taking unwarranted shots at the moderators in that first Fox News debate a year ago, and publicly trashing Megyn Kelly over the several months that followed, simply for asking tough but fair questions. Some might even remember that Trump used to portray Fox News Channel as an enemy to his campaign quite routinely. Not so much these days, right, Sean? In the short term, the vilification was helpful. Primary voters were appreciative of a candidate who fought back against the media. He was unwilling to let himself be defined by them. He didn't have to define him. He defined himself in a way that is not helping him now, is it? The base believed that John McCain and Mitt Romney had largely taken the silent high road when it came to dealing with unfair media narratives, and that it was a major reason why they lost. Trump's disobedience paid dividends in the polls. As time went on, other GOP candidates began to use the same strategy, taking more opportunities to drag the media over the coals when responding to criticism. It got to the point where basic media inquiries were commonly denounced as unjust attacks motivated by ideological bias. Now, Mr. Daly, John Daly, this is his piece at nationalreview.com today. He saw this trend as potentially dangerous, and he wrote about it in a piece for National Review back in February. In it, Daly likened the practice to the playing of a victim card, in which the candidates were refusing to take responsibility for their individual weaknesses and mistakes. Remember what I've been saying about how Republicans have to be better? Republicans have to be perfect. Republicans have no margin for error. They can't make mistakes. And if they make mistakes, they own them. Not play the victim card, which is a left-wing tactic. I believed that just as repeated baseless declarations of racism have a desensitizing effect on the public, so the candidates' overplaying of the media bias card would lead to legitimate examples of media malpractice, of which there are plenty, falling on deaf ears. If you're bitching and moaning, if you're crying wolf, if you're complaining all the time, it's just gonna... people are going to get numb to it. It's like, oh, yeah, he's bitching about the media again. Whatever, dude. Wah, 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 wah. Just like with Obama and racism. The race card, that's been played to death. I mean, it doesn't even mean anything anymore. It's just an epithet. Same thing here with the media bias card. Unfortunately, that appears to be what has happened. Trump has been as busy as ever griping about how the media are treating him, but the complaints are now largely discarded and laughed off, even when he's right. The expiration date on the media bias card has passed. In other words, Trump has removed the media bias card from our arsenal. He has provided cover for media bias. Now all the left has to say is, oh, there go those conservatives again, bitching and moaning about the media. Why don't they own their own mistakes? And in so doing, they have carte blanche to ratchet up the bias even more. Too many times Trump has claimed to have never said something that he was captured on video saying. This is not 100 years ago. This is the era of YouTube, for crying out loud. You want to know what Trump said on a given day? Go to YouTube, do a search, look it up, watch the video for yourself. It's like, I don't know whether it's delusion or whether it's just the totalitarian memory hole instinct. Too many times Trump has insisted he was taken out of context when the context was clear and reported accurately. Too many times he's outright denied cold, hard facts presented to him by interviewers. Too many times he's cried wolf. And now the more Trump does this, the more neurotic he'll sound, and the more it will hurt him with the general electorate. The other day, conservative columnist and CNN personality S.E. Cupp tweeted the following, and it is devastating because it is so spot on target. Here's what she tweeted, quote, "Calling out media bias and malpractice is cool. Turning the American public against the press wholesale for not liking you is communism." Ooh. Need some smelling salts, Trump supporters? Though I'm not convinced Trump would interpret that particular analysis as an insult. It's an insult because it's true. I think Cupp brings up a good point about the perception he has created by continually skewering the media rather than carefully choosing his shots and making them count. In other words, in this case, quantity is not better than quality. Caught on the reckless crossfire, of course, has been, here we go, the rest of the Republican Party and the conservative movement. Even though a good chunk of the latter has tried to distance itself from Trump. Holding up my hand. They'll now have a much harder time in the future convincing the public that they're being misrepresented and held to a different standard from the other side when they absolutely are. And that is part of Trump's wholesale sabotage of the right. Ladies and gentlemen, whether it's deliberate, whether it's just Trump being Trump, and Occam's razor suggests it's deliberate. But if it's just Trump being Trump, the end result is the same. The right has lost the moral authority to criticize media bias. Trump has discredited the criticism of media bias. He's taken that arrow out of our metaphorical quiver. The irony in all of this is that Trump was supposed to be, I remember this like it was yesterday, Trump was supposed to be the right's answer to media bias. Remember that? One of the nominee's big selling points to the base, often promoted by his surrogates, was that he could, unlike McCain and Romney, talk over the media, bust right through their politically correct liberal narratives, and speak directly to the American people. And God knows he's been given a loud enough microphone. Well, how's that working out for you, Trumplicans? How's that working out for you? Not so good, huh? Instead, Trump's temperament, his lack of self-discipline, and his breathtaking unpreparedness for the role of a general election candidate has opened up an unprecedented number of doors through which the media have effectively dismantled him. And Trump opened those doors. The media didn't batter them down. Trump has buried himself. Whether it's because he doesn't really want to be president, whether it's because he's really trying to put Hillary in the White House, whatever it is, or maybe he's just because his narcissism has made him that stupid. Whichever one it is, or some combination thereof, the media have effectively dismantled him. And it didn't take much. All they have to do is cover him, for crying out loud. The media don't have to make things up about Trump. Trump buries himself on a daily basis. Problem is, he's burying the GOP at the same time. Oh, gosh. I don't know. And while all of the expected double standards and slanted coverage are certainly in full force, as they are in every election cycle, rest assured, the dismantling in this case has come primarily through honest reporting and an open microphone. Trump has buried himself.